Marcus Chen sat in the back of his black luxury car, staring at his phone with a tired smile. The meeting in Singapore had gone better than he expected. The deal was done 3 days early. He was going home to New York, and his fiancée Victoria had no idea he was coming back early. Marcus was 35 years old and had more money than most people could imagine. His technology company had made him a billionaire before he turned 30. He created software that big companies around the world used every day. But despite all his success and money, Marcus was a simple man at heart. He worked hard, treated people fairly, and believed in honesty above everything else. The flight from Singapore to New York was long, but Marcus didn't mind. He spent most of the time thinking about Victoria. They had been engaged for 8 months now. The wedding was planned for next spring at a beautiful vineyard outside the city. Victoria had been so excited about the planning. She spent hours looking at flowers, dresses, and decorations. Marcus smiled, thinking about how happy she would be to see him home early. Marcus and Victoria had met 2 years ago at a charity event in Manhattan. Marcus remembered that night clearly. He had been standing alone near the bar, tired from talking to investors all evening. Then Victoria walked up to him. She had long dark hair and wore a simple blue dress. She wasn't like the other women at these events who only wanted to talk about money or fame. Victoria had told him about her life that night. She said her family had money problems. Her father had died when she was young, and her mother struggled to pay bills. Victoria worked 2 jobs to help support her younger brother's college education. She seemed genuine and kind. Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt like someone saw him as just Marcus, not as a rich man with a famous company. They started dating a few weeks after that night. Victoria was different from anyone Marcus had dated before. She cooked dinner for him in her small apartment. She asked about his day and actually listened to his answers. She didn't ask for expensive gifts or fancy vacations. When Marcus offered to help her family financially, she refused at first. She said she didn't want his money to change their relationship. That made Marcus love her even more. After dating for a year, Marcus proposed to her on a quiet beach in the Bahamas. No crowds, no photographers, just the 2 of them and the sunset. Victoria cried and said yes. Marcus felt like the luckiest man in the world. He finally found someone who loved him for who he was, not what he had. Now, as the car drove through the streets of Manhattan toward their penthouse in Tribeca, Marcus felt excited. He checked his watch. It was 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Victoria should be home. She worked from home most days, handling social media for his company's charity foundation. Marcus had given her that job a year ago. She was good at it and seemed to love the work. The car pulled up to the building. Marcus noticed a silver sports car parked in his private parking spot. It was a Porsche, expensive and new. Marcus frowned slightly. Maybe one of Victoria's friends was visiting, or maybe someone parked in the wrong spot by mistake. He decided not to worry about it. Marcus told his driver he could go home. He would call if he needed the car later. He grabbed his small suitcase and walked to the private elevator that went straight to his penthouse. The elevator was quiet as it climbed to the top floor. Marcus felt a small flutter of excitement in his chest. He imagined Victoria's face when she saw him. The elevator doors opened directly into the foyer of the penthouse. Marcus stepped out and immediately heard voices. They came from the living room. One voice was Victoria's. He would recognize her laugh anywhere. But there was another voice, too. A man's voice, deep and confident. Marcus felt a strange tightness in his chest. He set his suitcase down quietly. He didn't want to interrupt if Victoria was in an important work meeting, but something felt wrong. The voices didn't sound like a business meeting. There was laughter, casual and comfortable, like old friends talking. Marcus walked slowly toward the living room. The voices got clearer. He could hear words now. "This is perfect," the man's voice said. "Better than we hoped." "I know," Victoria replied. Her voice sounded excited. "He trusts me completely. He tells me everything about the company." Marcus stopped walking. His heart started beating faster. He stood in the hallway just out of sight from the living room. He could hear them clearly now. "Once you're married, you'll have legal access to everything," the man said. "The prenup he made you sign won't matter after a few years. The law will be on our side." Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. What were they talking about? "I just need to keep playing the loving fiancé for a few more months," Victoria said. Marcus heard her laugh. It wasn't the sweet laugh he knew. This laugh was cold and calculating. It's not easy pretending to care about his boring stories and his stupid charity work. But the payoff will be worth it, the man laughed too. "You're doing great, Vic. He has no idea." Marcus always was too trusting, too naive. It's what made him easy to fool 15 years ago, and it's what made him easy to fool now. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest, replacing the shock. That voice. He knew that voice. Slowly, carefully, Marcus moved closer to the living room entrance. He stood at the edge of the doorway and looked inside. What he saw made everything worse. Victoria sat on the large leather sofa in the middle of the room. Next to her, sitting too close, was a man Marcus knew very well. Derek Ashford, his former best friend, his former business partner, the man who had betrayed him 5 years ago. Derek had been Marcus's roommate in college. They started their first company together in a small apartment with borrowed computers. But when the company started making money, Derek wanted to take shortcuts. He wanted to steal ideas from other companies. He wanted to lie to investors. Marcus refused. They fought, and Derek left, taking some of their early technology with him. He started his own company using what he stole. Marcus had to start over from nothing. That betrayal had hurt Marcus deeply. He never spoke to Derek again. He built his new company the right way, with hard work and honest innovation. His company became worth billions. Derek's company never grew much. Marcus thought Derek was out of his life forever. But now Derek was here, in Marcus's home, sitting with Marcus's fiancée. And from what Marcus just heard, they were planning something terrible together. On the coffee table in front of them, Marcus could see papers spread out. He recognized the letterhead of his own company. There were architectural plans, legal documents, and what looked like financial reports. All confidential, all private, all things that Victoria shouldn't have access to. "Once we're married, I'll have access to everything," Victoria was saying now. Her finger pointed at some documents on the table. "The prenup he insisted on won't matter once I'm his wife for a few years. Community property laws will make me part owner of everything he has." And then, "Victoria," Marcus said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a knife. Both heads turned toward him fast. Victoria's face went completely white. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Derek stared at him for a moment, then slowly, incredibly, he smiled. Not a friendly smile. A mean smile that made Marcus's anger burn hotter. Marcus stood in the doorway, looking at the two people who had betrayed him. He didn't move. He didn't yell. He just stood there, his mind working fast, processing everything he had seen and heard. This wasn't just cheating. This was much worse. This was planned. This was a trap he had walked into blindly, and Marcus Chen, the billionaire who built his fortune on being smart and careful, realized he had been played for a fool. The silence in the room felt heavy and thick. Marcus stood completely still, his eyes moving from Victoria's pale face to Derek's smug smile, then down to the papers on the coffee table. His mind was racing, but his face showed nothing. Years of business meetings had taught him to hide his emotions when necessary. Victoria stood up quickly. The papers on the table scattered a little from her sudden movement. "Marcus," she said, her voice shaking. "You're home early. I thought you weren't coming back until Friday." Marcus didn't answer her. Instead, he pulled his phone from his pocket slowly and carefully. He held it up and took several pictures of the coffee table and all the documents spread across it. The camera clicked 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. "What are you doing?" Victoria asked. Her voice was getting higher and more panicked. "Marcus, please, let me explain." "Don't move those papers," Marcus said calmly. He took 2 more pictures from a different angle. He wanted to make sure he captured everything clearly. The documents, the plans, the evidence. Derek finally stood up from the sofa. Unlike Victoria, he didn't look worried or scared. He straightened his expensive suit jacket and adjusted his watch. It was a gold Rolex, Marcus noticed. Probably bought with money from the technology Derek had stolen years ago. "Well," Derek said, his voice casual like they were meeting for coffee, not in the middle of a crime. "I guess the surprise is ruined. Though honestly, Marcus, we weren't expecting you until the weekend. You really should stick to your schedule. It's rude to show up unannounced. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. He forced himself to stay calm. Getting angry wouldn't help right now. He needed to think clearly. How long? He asked. His voice was quiet but firm. How long has this been going on? Victoria started crying. Tears ran down her face and she covered her mouth with her hand. Marcus, please, you have to understand. I'm not talking to you, Marcus said, cutting her off. His eyes stayed locked on Derek. I'm asking him. How long have you two been planning this? Derek laughed. It was a cold laugh that made Marcus's skin crawl. From the very beginning, old friend, Derek said. The way he said old friend sounded like an insult. Did you really think this was all a coincidence? That you just happened to meet the perfect woman at a charity event? That she just happened to love everything you love? Marcus felt something break inside his chest, but he didn't let it show on his face. He kept his expression blank, his voice steady. Keep talking, he said. Derek seemed happy to continue. Maybe it was his ego. Maybe he just couldn't resist bragging about how clever he thought he was. It took months of planning, Derek said, walking around the sofa toward the window. I knew you went to that charity event every year, so I hired Victoria to bump into you. Literally bump into you, remember? She spilled her drink on your shirt. Marcus did remember. Victoria had apologized so sweetly. She had been so embarrassed. Or at least, she had seemed embarrassed. Now Marcus realized it was all an act. Every moment, every smile, every touch. All fake. I told her everything about you, Derek continued. Your dead mother's favorite flowers were roses. That's why Victoria always kept roses in the apartment. Your college girlfriend broke your heart, so I told Victoria to be different, to be simple, to act like she didn't care about money, to make you feel like she saw the real you. Derek laughed again. And you fell for it perfectly. Like a fish taking a worm on a hook. Victoria was crying harder now. Derek, stop, she said through her tears. Please stop talking. But Derek ignored her. He seemed to be enjoying himself too much. The charity story about her poor family. Made up, her father isn't dead. He's living in Florida, running a boat rental business. Her brother isn't in college. He works at a car dealership, all lies. All carefully created to make you feel sorry for her. To make you want to save her. Marcus felt sick to his stomach. Every memory he had with Victoria was now poisoned. Every moment they shared was a lie. The dinners she cooked. The quiet nights watching movies. The way she held his hand when he talked about missing his mother. All of it was fake. Performance. A long, cruel con game. Why? Marcus asked. He looked at Derek. You already tried to destroy me once. Why come back? Why do all this? Derek's smile faded a little. For the first time, Marcus saw real anger in Derek's eyes. Because you won, Derek said, his voice harder now. You were supposed to fail after I left. Your company should have died. But instead, you became a billionaire while I struggled. Do you know how that feels? Watching you get richer and more successful every year while my company barely survives? That's because you cheated, Marcus said. You stole and lied. I built my success honestly. Honestly, Derek repeated, spitting out the word like it tasted bad. Your honesty made you blind, Marcus. It made you weak. It made you easy to fool. When Victoria told me she could get close to you, I knew we had a chance. One more shot. She gets you to marry her. She gains access to your company's secrets. Your new AI technology that everyone is talking about. The one that's going to be worth billions. We copy it. I launch it through my company first, and finally, I beat you. Marcus looked at the documents on the table again. Now he understood what he was seeing. Source codes, design documents, security passwords, customer lists, everything someone would need to steal his company's most valuable technology. How much did you take already? Marcus asked Victoria. His voice was still calm, but inside he felt like he was breaking apart. Victoria wiped her eyes. Her crying was slowing down. Maybe she realized tears wouldn't work anymore. Not much, she whispered. Just some preliminary documents. Nothing important yet. We were waiting until after the wedding. Once I had legal access to everything as your wife. Marcus nodded slowly. That was something at least. The core technology was still safe. His company wasn't destroyed yet. And then what? You were going to copy everything and ask for a divorce? Eventually, Derek said. He didn't seem ashamed at all. Though we figured Victoria could stay married to you for a few years. Make it look real. then divorce you and take half of everything in the settlement. Even with a prenup, a good lawyer can break those after a few years of marriage, especially if the wife claims emotional distress or neglect. "I would have claimed you were never home," Victoria said quietly. She wasn't looking at Marcus anymore. She was looking at the floor. "That you cared more about your company than about me? That you left me alone all the time. Courts are sympathetic to wives who feel abandoned." Marcus felt the anger rising in his chest again, but he pushed it down. He needed to stay in control. "So you would steal my technology and my money, destroy my company and my life, after I trusted you, after I loved you?" "Love," Derek said, laughing. "Marcus, you didn't love her. You loved the idea of her. The perfect woman who loved you for you, not your money. We gave you exactly what you wanted to see. You saw what you wanted to believe." Marcus pulled out his phone again. This time, he didn't take pictures. He pressed a single button on his screen. It was a special app his security team had created. One button that sent an emergency alert to his lawyers, his head of security, and his assistant. Within minutes, people would be on their way. "What did you just do?" Victoria asked. Her voice was scared again. "I called for help," Marcus said simply. "You two made a big mistake today. You told me everything. You confessed to corporate espionage, fraud, attempted theft of trade secrets. These are serious crimes. Federal crimes." Derek's smile finally disappeared. "You're bluffing." Marcus held up his phone again. On the screen was a recording app. It had been running since he first pulled out the phone to take pictures. "I recorded everything," Marcus said. "Every word you both said? Every confession, everything." Victoria's face went white again. She looked at Derek with panic in her eyes. "You said he wouldn't find out," she said. "You said this was foolproof." "Shut up," Derek snapped at her. "No," Victoria said, her voice getting louder. "No, this is your fault. You said this would work. You said he was stupid and blind and easy to fool." I said shut up!" Derek yelled. Marcus watched them turn on each other. A minute ago, they were partners in crime. Now they were blaming each other, scared of getting caught. It would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. If it didn't hurt so much, Marcus's phone buzzed. A text message from his head of security. 10 minutes away. Marcus looked at the two people who had tried to destroy him. One was his former best friend. One was the woman he had planned to marry. And now both were criminals who would face justice. "You have a choice," Marcus said. "When my lawyers get here, you can cooperate or you can fight. But either way, this is over." Derek moved toward the door quickly. His confident smile was completely gone now. "I'm leaving," he said, reaching for his jacket on the chair. "You can't keep me here. This is harassment." Marcus didn't move from his position near the doorway. "The building security already locked down the private elevator when I sent the alert," he said calmly. "The only way out is through the main elevator, and security is waiting there too. You can try to run if you want. It will just make things worse for you." Derek stopped moving. His hand was still on his jacket, but he didn't pick it up. Marcus could see Derek's mind working, trying to find a way out of this situation. But there was no way out. Not this time. Victoria sat back down on the sofa. She pulled her knees up to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. She looked small and scared. "I didn't want it to go this far," she said quietly. "Derek said it would be easy. He said you would never find out. Don't say anything else," Derek warned her. "Not without a lawyer present." "It's too late for that advice," Marcus said. He held up his phone again, showing the recording app still running. "You both already confessed everything. Multiple times. Theft, fraud, conspiracy, corporate espionage. These recordings will hold up in court." The sound of the elevator arriving made everyone turn. The doors opened and 4 people walked into the penthouse. Marcus recognized all of them. Patricia Wong, his head lawyer, came in first. She was a small woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. She had never lost a case in 20 years. Behind her came 2 security guards in dark suits. And finally, James Cooper, Marcus's personal assistant and friend for the last 10 years. Patricia looked around the room quickly, taking in the scene. Her eyes moved from Marcus to Victoria to Derek to the papers on the coffee table. "Fill me in," she said to Marcus. Marcus handed her his phone with the recording. "It's all on here," he said. "They confessed to planning fraud and attempting to steal trade secrets. Victoria was supposed to marry me to gain legal access to company documents. Derek was going to use the stolen technology to launch his own version of our AI product. Patricia listened to part of the recording, her face showing no emotion. She nodded as she listened, occasionally making notes on her own phone. After a few minutes, she looked up at Derek and Victoria. "This is very bad for both of you," Patricia said in a professional tone. "Corporate espionage is a federal crime. Attempted theft of trade secrets can result in prison time. Fraud, conspiracy, breach of fiduciary duty since Victoria worked for Marcus's foundation." She counted the crimes on her fingers. "I can think of at least 7 charges we could file right now." Victoria started crying again. "I'm sorry," she said, looking at Marcus. "I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you." "I needed the money." Derek said it would be easy. He said, "Stop talking," Derek said sharply, but his voice didn't sound confident anymore. He sounded worried. "No," Victoria said, her voice stronger now. "I'm not going to prison for you, Derek. This was your plan. Your idea. You found me. You trained me. You told me exactly what to say and how to act. You're not pinning this all on me." Derek's face turned red with anger. "You lying? Enough," Patricia said, her voice cutting through the argument. "You're both in serious trouble. Fighting each other won't help either of you." She turned to Marcus. "What do you want to do?" Marcus had been thinking about this from the moment he realized what was happening. Part of him wanted to see them both arrested. He wanted them to face the full punishment for what they tried to do. They had lied to him, betrayed him, tried to destroy everything he built. They deserved to suffer, but another part of Marcus just wanted this to be over. He wanted them out of his life. He wanted to move on and forget this nightmare ever happened. Sending them to prison would mean trials, media attention, months or years of legal battles. His private life would become public. Everyone would know he had been fooled. The headlines would be cruel. "Billionaire tricked by fiancée. Tech genius falls for obvious con." He could already imagine the jokes people would make. Marcus looked at Victoria. She was still crying, mascara running down her face. She looked nothing like the woman he thought he loved. That woman never existed. She was just a character Victoria played for 2 years. Then Marcus looked at Derek, his old friend, his old partner, the person he had trusted more than anyone in college. Now just a bitter, jealous man who couldn't accept his own failures. "I'll give you both one choice," Marcus said slowly. "One chance to avoid federal prison." Patricia looked surprised. "Marcus, are you sure?" "With this evidence, we can—" Marcus held up his hand, stopping her. "I know what we can do," he said. "But I want this over. I want them gone." He looked back at Derek and Victoria. "Here's the deal. You sign non-disclosure agreements, detailed ones that prevent you from ever talking about me, my company, or anything you learned while Victoria and I were together. You return everything you took, every document, every file, every piece of information. You delete all copies. My security team will verify this by checking your computers, phones, and any cloud storage accounts. And if we do all that," Derek asked carefully, "Victoria returns the engagement ring and leaves this apartment immediately. She takes only her personal clothes and nothing else. No jewelry I bought her, no electronics, nothing. Derek, you sign an agreement promising to never contact me or anyone in my company again, ever. You stay away from my business, my partners, my clients. You don't speak to me, email me, or come near me. If you break any of these rules, the NDA includes a penalty clause of $50 million. Victoria gasped. "50 million? I don't have that kind of money." "Exactly," Marcus said. "So don't break the agreement. Both of you disappear from my life completely. Do this, and I won't press criminal charges. I won't call the FBI. I won't destroy you in court. You get to walk away from this. And if we refuse?" Derek asked. Patricia answered this time. "Then Marcus files charges today. Federal prosecutors will be very interested in this case. Corporate espionage, especially involving technology worth billions, is something they take seriously. You'll both be arrested probably tonight. Bail will be high, may be denied completely since you're both flight risks. The trial will be public. Every detail will come out. Your names will be destroyed. And when you're both found guilty, which you will be with this recording, you'll go to prison. Federal prison, not some easy minimum security place. Real prison for years." The room went quiet. Marcus watched Derek and Victoria process their options. It wasn't really a choice. They could take Marcus's deal and walk away with their freedom, or they could fight and lose everything. Derek spoke first. "I want to see the NDA before I sign anything." "Of course," Patricia said. She was already pulling out her tablet. "I'll draft it right now. It will be thorough. Very thorough. But it's better than prison." Victoria looked at Marcus with red, swollen eyes. "I really am sorry," she said. "For what it's worth, there were moments that felt real. Times when I almost forgot I was pretending. Times when I thought maybe—" "Don't," Marcus said, his voice hard. "Don't try to make this romantic or tragic. You lied to me for 2 years. You manipulated my feelings. You tried to steal from me. Nothing about that was real. Nothing about us was real." Victoria looked down at her hands. "You're right," she whispered. "I'm sorry." "Save your apologies," Marcus said. "Just sign the papers and leave." Patricia worked on her tablet for 20 minutes while everyone sat in uncomfortable silence. James, Marcus's assistant, made coffee. Nobody drank it. The security guard stood by the elevator, making sure nobody tried to leave. Finally, Patricia finished. She pulled a small portable printer from her bag and printed out 2 thick contracts. She handed one to Derek and one to Victoria. "Read carefully," Patricia said. "Once you sign this, it's legally binding. Any violation will result in immediate financial and legal consequences." Derek read through his copy slowly, his jaw clenched tight. Victoria just flipped through the pages without really reading. She looked defeated, like she just wanted this to be over. After 30 minutes, Derek looked up. "I'll sign," he said. "But I want it noted that I'm signing under duress." "You're signing to avoid prison for crimes you committed," Patricia said. "That's not duress. That's accepting consequences. Sign or don't sign. Your choice." Derek picked up the pen and signed. His hand shook slightly. Victoria signed hers right after, her signature messy and quick. Patricia collected the contracts and handed copies to both of them. "You're free to go," she said. "But remember, we'll be watching. Any contact with Marcus, any attempt to use information you obtained, any violation of this agreement, and we'll see you in court. And next time, there won't be a deal." Derek stood up and walked to the elevator without looking back. He pressed the button and waited. When the doors opened, he stepped inside and disappeared. Victoria stood up slowly. She looked at Marcus one more time. "Can I at least get my clothes?" she asked quietly. "You have 30 minutes, Marcus said. James will supervise. Take only what's yours. Nothing else." Victoria nodded and walked toward the bedroom. James followed her. Marcus could hear drawers opening and closing, the sound of hangers moving in the closet. 25 minutes later, Victoria came back with 2 suitcases. She had changed into jeans and a simple shirt. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked younger and more ordinary. More like her real self, whoever that was. She walked to the door but stopped before leaving. "I hope you find someone real," she said. "Someone who actually deserves you." Then she was gone. Marcus stood alone with Patricia and the 2 security guards. The penthouse was quiet. On the coffee table, the documents that started all this were still scattered around. "Are you okay?" Patricia asked gently. Marcus didn't answer right away. Was he okay? He didn't know. He felt numb, empty, betrayed, but also relieved. The threat was gone. The danger was over. "I will be," Marcus finally said. "Eventually." 3 weeks passed after Victoria and Derek signed the agreements and left Marcus's life. 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. Marcus threw himself into work with an intensity that worried even his closest colleagues. He arrived at the office before sunrise and left long after midnight. He attended every meeting, reviewed every report, and personally oversaw every detail of his company's new AI launch. His assistant, James, tried to get him to slow down. "You need to rest, Marcus," James said one evening as Marcus reviewed spreadsheets at 9 o'clock. "You haven't taken a day off since it happened." Marcus didn't look up from his computer. "I'm fine," he said. "Work helps. It keeps my mind busy." But James knew Marcus wasn't fine. None of Marcus's friends thought he was fine. Marcus had become cold and distant. He barely smiled. He hardly talked about anything except business. The warm, kind man who used to joke with employees and remember their children's names had disappeared. In his place was someone harder, someone who trusted no one. The company's AI technology launched successfully. It was everything Marcus had worked for over the past 3 years. The product was revolutionary. Companies around the world wanted it. Within 2 weeks of launch, Marcus's company signed contracts worth $3 billion. The board of directors was thrilled. Investors were happy. The media called Marcus a genius, but Marcus felt nothing. The success that should have made him proud just felt empty. He had no one to celebrate with, no one to share the victory with. He used to imagine celebrating this moment with Victoria, taking her to a nice dinner, maybe taking a vacation to somewhere warm and quiet. Now those dreams felt stupid and naive. Marcus started avoiding his friends. When his college buddy Tom called to invite him to dinner, Marcus made excuses. When his cousin Anna asked him to come to her daughter's birthday party, Marcus said he was too busy with work. He stopped going to the gym. He stopped going to his favorite coffee shop. He ordered all his meals delivered to the office or the penthouse. He was isolating himself and he knew it, but he didn't care. Being alone felt safer than trusting anyone new. Patricia, his lawyer, called him one afternoon. "Marcus, I need to talk to you about something personal," she said. "Not business," Marcus sighed. "Patricia, I don't need a therapy session." "Too bad, because you're getting one anyway," Patricia said. Her voice was firm but kind. "I've known you for 8 years, Marcus. I've seen you build this company from nothing. I've watched you treat people with kindness and respect. But right now, you're becoming someone I don't recognize. You're shutting everyone out." "People are liars," Marcus said. "They pretend to care, but they just want something from you." "Some people are liars," Patricia corrected him. "Not all people. Victoria and Derek don't represent everyone in the world. Most people are good and honest. How do I know the difference?" Marcus asked. The question came out quieter than he intended, more vulnerable. "How do I know who's real and who's just pretending? Victoria fooled me completely for 2 years. I thought I knew her. I thought I loved her. But I didn't know anything. She was just an actress playing a role." Patricia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You know what the worst part of betrayal is? It's not the pain from the person who hurt you. It's how it makes you doubt everyone else. It makes you suspect good people of having bad intentions. It makes you push away people who actually care about you because you're too scared to trust again." Marcus knew she was right, but knowing it didn't make it easier. "I don't know how to trust again," he admitted. "You don't have to trust everyone," Patricia said. "But you can't live in a fortress forever. You have to let some people in eventually. Real friends, real connections. That's what makes life worth living. Not money, not success. People." After the call ended, Marcus sat in his office staring at the city lights outside his window. New York looked beautiful at night. Millions of people living their lives down there, working, laughing, loving, fighting, dreaming. Marcus felt disconnected from all of it, like he was watching life through a glass wall instead of living it. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from James. "There's someone here to see you." "She says it's personal. Her name is Sarah Mitchell." Marcus stared at the name on his screen. Sarah Mitchell. He hadn't heard that name in 15 years. Sarah had been his girlfriend in college, before the money, before the fame, before everything. They dated for 3 years. She was an English literature major who loved books more than technology. They were different, but it worked. She understood his dreams and supported his ambitions. They broke up when Marcus moved to Silicon Valley to start his first company. Sarah had been accepted to a graduate program at a university in Vermont. They tried long distance for a few months, but it didn't work. The distance was too much. They ended things amicably, promising to stay friends. But life got busy. They lost touch. Marcus hadn't spoken to her in over a decade. Why was she here now? Marcus typed back to James, "Send her up." 5 minutes later, Sarah Mitchell walked into Marcus's office. She looked the same, but different. Her brown hair was shorter now, cut in a practical style just above her shoulders. She wore jeans and a simple green sweater. No fancy designer clothes or expensive jewelry. She carried a worn leather bag that looked like she had owned it for years. "Hi, Marcus," Sarah said with a small smile. "Sarah," Marcus said, standing up from his desk. "This is a surprise. How did you even know where to find me?" Sarah laughed softly. "You're a billionaire, Marcus. You're not exactly hard to find. Your office address is on your company website." She looked around the large office with floor-to-ceiling windows. "Nice place. Very different from that tiny apartment we shared in college. Marcus smiled slightly at the memory. That apartment was terrible. The heater never worked and the neighbors were loud. But we were happy there, Sarah said. She sat down in one of the chairs across from Marcus's desk. At least I think we were happy. Were you happy back then? Marcus sat down too. Yes, he said honestly. I was happy. Life was simpler then. They sat in silence for a moment. It wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It felt familiar, like putting on an old jacket that still fit perfectly. I heard about what happened, Sarah finally said, with your fiancé. I saw an article about your engagement being called off. The article didn't give details, but I could read between the lines. I wanted to reach out, to check on you, to make sure you were okay. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. A small piece of the ice wall he had built around himself broke off. You came all the way from Vermont just to check on me? I did, Sarah said simply. I know we haven't talked in years. I know we both moved on with our lives, but you were important to me once, Marcus. You were my friend before you were my boyfriend. And when I thought about you going through something painful alone, it bothered me. So I took a few days off from work and got on a train. You didn't have to do that, Marcus said quietly. I know, Sarah said, but I wanted to. So are you okay? And please don't give me some automatic response about being fine. I know you better than that. At least I used to know you. Marcus looked at Sarah. Her brown eyes were kind and concerned. There was no hidden agenda in her expression. No calculation. She wasn't here because she wanted something from him. She was here because she cared. It was such a foreign concept to Marcus now that he almost didn't recognize it. No, Marcus admitted. I'm not okay. It's been 3 weeks and I still feel like everything is broken. Not just my relationship, me, I feel broken. Sarah nodded. That makes sense. Betrayal does that. It makes you question everything. Every memory, every moment, every feeling. You start wondering if anything was real. Exactly, Marcus said. He was surprised by how good it felt to talk about this. I keep going over everything in my mind, looking for signs I missed, moments when I should have known she was lying. But I can't find them. She was too good. Or I was too blind. You weren't blind, Sarah said firmly. You were trusting. There's a difference. Trust is a good quality, Marcus. It means you believe in people's goodness. She took advantage of that. That's her failure, not yours. But I should have been more careful, Marcus said. I should have... Stop, Sarah interrupted gently. You can't live your life suspecting everyone of lying. That's not living. That's just existing in fear. What happened to you was terrible, but you can't let it destroy your ability to connect with people. That would mean she wins. That would mean she really did break you. Marcus thought about that. He had been letting Victoria and Derek win by shutting everyone out, by becoming cold and suspicious, by building walls so high that no one could reach him. That's exactly what they would want. They would love knowing they damaged him so badly that he couldn't trust anyone anymore. How do I stop feeling like this? Marcus asked. How do I trust again? Sarah smiled. Slowly, carefully, with people who have proven themselves over time. Not everyone is Victoria, Marcus. Most people are honest. You just have to give them a chance to show you that. Are you one of those honest people? Marcus asked. Yes, Sarah said without hesitation. I always was. Even when we broke up, I was honest with you. I told you I couldn't do long distance. I didn't lie or cheat or pretend. We ended things the right way. With respect and honesty, Marcus remembered. Sarah was right. When they broke up, it hurt, but it was clean. No lies, no betrayal. Just two people whose lives were going in different directions. Why did you really come here, Sarah? Marcus asked. Sarah leaned forward a little. Because I read that article and I thought about you sitting alone in this big office in this big city, surrounded by all this success and money, but feeling completely alone. And I couldn't stand that image. You deserve better than that, Marcus. You deserve friends who actually care about you. Not your money. Not your company. Just you. Marcus felt his eyes getting wet. He blinked quickly, trying to hide it. I don't have many of those anymore, he admitted. Then let's start rebuilding, Sarah said. Let me take you to dinner. Not somewhere fancy, somewhere normal. We can talk about books and movies and stupid things that don't matter. We can remember what it's like to just be regular people having a regular conversation. No business, no stress, Just two old friends catching up. Marcus wanted to say no. His instinct was to refuse, to stay alone, to stay safe behind his walls. But something about Sarah made him want to try. Maybe it was because she knew him before he became rich. Maybe it was because she had nothing to gain from him. Maybe it was just because he was tired of being alone. "Okay," Marcus said. "Dinner sounds nice," Sarah smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. "Great. There's a little Italian place near here. No reservations needed. No dress code. Just good food and good company." Marcus stood up from his desk. For the first time in 3 weeks, he felt something other than numbness. It wasn't happiness yet, but it was hope. A small, fragile hope that maybe things could get better, that maybe he could heal, that maybe not everyone in the world was a liar waiting to hurt him. "Let's go," Marcus said. Sarah stood up too, slinging her old leather bag over her shoulder. As they walked toward the elevator together, Marcus felt the ice around his heart crack a little more. It was a start. A small start. But sometimes small starts lead to big changes. And maybe, just maybe, this dinner with an old friend was the beginning of something good. The Italian restaurant Sarah chose was small and tucked away on a quiet street in Lower Manhattan. The kind of place tourists never found and locals loved. Red checkered tablecloths covered wooden tables. The smell of garlic and tomato sauce filled the air. An old Italian man greeted them at the door and showed them to a table by the window. Marcus couldn't remember the last time he had been to a place like this. For years, he only ate at expensive restaurants where reservations had to be made months in advance. Places where the chef was famous and every dish was a work of art. But those places always felt cold and formal. This little restaurant felt warm and real. "I used to come here when I visited New York for conferences," Sarah said as she looked at the menu. "The pasta is incredible. Simple but perfect." They ordered food and talked. At first, Marcus felt awkward. He had forgotten how to have normal conversations. For the past 3 weeks, every conversation had been about business or the betrayal. But Sarah made it easy. She asked about his work, but she also asked about other things. Did he still love science fiction movies? Did he still hate coffee but drink it anyway? Did he still stay up too late reading? Marcus found himself relaxing, laughing even. Sarah told him about her life in Vermont. She taught literature at a high school. She loved her students even though they drove her crazy sometimes. She lived in a small house near the mountains. She had a dog named Scout after the character in To Kill a Mockingbird. Her life sounded simple and peaceful. Nothing like Marcus's complicated world of business deals and board meetings. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "Choosing teaching instead of something that pays more?" Sarah shook her head. "Never. Money isn't everything, Marcus. I make enough to live comfortably. I have a job I love. I have friends and family nearby. I go hiking on weekends. I read every night before bed. I'm happy. That's worth more than any salary." Marcus thought about his own life. He had more money than he could ever spend. He owned a penthouse, vacation homes, expensive cars. But was he happy? Before Victoria's betrayal, he thought he was. Now he wasn't sure. Maybe he had been chasing the wrong things all along. "I envy you," Marcus said quietly. "You seem so content with your life." "Content isn't the same as settling," Sarah said. "I worked hard to build a life that makes me happy. I made choices based on what I valued, not what other people thought I should want." You can do the same thing, Marcus. You don't have to live the life everyone expects a billionaire to live. You can choose what makes you happy. They talked for hours. The restaurant slowly emptied as other diners finished their meals and left. The old Italian man brought them coffee and dessert without asking. He seemed to sense they needed more time. Marcus told Sarah about the last 3 weeks, about the isolation, about the fear, about how he didn't know who to trust anymore. Sarah listened without judging. She didn't offer easy solutions or tell him to just get over it. She simply listened and understood. "I think the hardest part is feeling stupid," Marcus admitted. "Everyone thinks I'm so smart. I built a billion-dollar company. I make complicated business decisions every day. But I couldn't see that the woman I loved was lying to me. What does that say about me?" "It says you're human," Sarah said. "Intelligence doesn't protect you from heartbreak, Marcus. Some of the smartest people in the world have been fooled by love. It happens because when you love someone, you want to believe the best about them. That's not stupidity. That's humanity." Marcus looked at Sarah across the table. The candlelight made her face glow softly. She was beautiful, he realized. Not in the dramatic way Victoria had been beautiful. Sarah's beauty was quieter, more real. She was beautiful because she was genuine, because everything about her was honest and true. "Thank you for coming," Marcus said. "I didn't realize how much I needed this. Just talking to someone who doesn't want anything from me." "I'm glad I came," Sarah said. "And for the record, I do want something from you." Marcus felt his chest tighten. Here it comes, he thought. The ask, the favor. "The real reason she's here? I want you to be happy," Sarah continued. "That's what I want from you. I want you to heal from this and find joy again. I want you to trust again and love again. That's all." Marcus felt the tightness in his chest release. He almost laughed at himself. Even now, even with Sarah, his first instinct was suspicion. He was more damaged than he thought. They left the restaurant around midnight. The New York streets were quieter now. A few taxis passed by. A couple walked hand in hand down the sidewalk. The city felt peaceful in a way it rarely did during the day. "Where are you staying?" Marcus asked Sarah. "I booked a small hotel in Brooklyn," Sarah said. "Nothing fancy." "Just a place to sleep." "Cancel it," Marcus said. Then he quickly added, "I have guest rooms in my penthouse. Multiple guest rooms. You came all this way to check on me. The least I can do is give you a comfortable place to stay." Sarah smiled. "Are you sure?" "I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing," Marcus said. "Please stay," Sarah agreed. They took a taxi back to Marcus's building. When they entered the penthouse, Sarah looked around with wide eyes. "Marcus, this place is incredible," she said, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. "It's too big for one person," Marcus said. He realized as he said it that it was true. The penthouse felt empty and cold. All this space and luxury, but no one to share it with. Marcus showed Sarah to one of the guest rooms. It had its own bathroom and a comfortable bed with soft white sheets. "Make yourself at home," Marcus said. "There's food in the kitchen if you get hungry. Help yourself to anything." "Thank you," Sarah said. "This is much nicer than my hotel would have been." Marcus was about to leave when Sarah called his name. He turned back. "I'm proud of you," Sarah said, "for building all this. For staying true to yourself even when it would have been easier to compromise. For being a good person, even though the world gives you lots of reasons not to be. I hope you know that." Marcus felt emotion rising in his throat. "I don't feel like a good person right now," he said. "I feel angry and bitter and broken." "You're hurt," Sarah said. "That's different from broken. Hurt things can heal, and you will heal, Marcus. I promise you will." Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice to speak. He said goodnight and went to his own bedroom. For the first time in 3 weeks, he didn't go over the betrayal in his mind. He didn't replay every moment with Victoria looking for clues he missed. Instead, he thought about the evening with Sarah. The easy conversation. The genuine laughter. The feeling of being understood. Maybe Patricia was right. Maybe not everyone was a liar. Maybe there were still good people in the world worth trusting. The next morning, Marcus woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon. Confused, he walked to the kitchen and found Sarah cooking breakfast. She had found eggs and bacon in his refrigerator and was making scrambled eggs. "I hope you don't mind," Sarah said, looking up from the stove. "I'm an early riser and I was hungry. I made enough for both of us." Marcus sat at the kitchen counter, watching Sarah cook in his kitchen. It felt domestic and normal in a way his life hadn't felt in a long time. "I don't mind at all," he said. They ate breakfast together, talking about their plans for the day. Sarah was planning to explore the city a bit before heading back to Vermont the next morning. Marcus surprised himself by offering to show her around. "Don't you have work?" Sarah asked. "I'm the boss," Marcus said with a small smile. "I can take a day off if I want to." They spent the day like tourists in Marcus's own city. They visited Central Park and walked along the paths. They went to a museum and looked at paintings. They grabbed hot dogs from a street vendor for lunch. Marcus couldn't remember the last time he had just enjoyed the city without rushing to a meeting or thinking about work. In the afternoon, they sat on a bench in Central Park watching people pass by. Joggers, families, couples, old people feeding pigeons, life happening all around them. "I have a confession," Sarah said. "I wasn't completely honest about why I came to New York." Marcus felt his stomach drop. Here it was. The truth. The real agenda. I came to check on you, yes, Sarah continued. But I also came because I never really stopped caring about you, Marcus. Even after all these years. When I read about your engagement ending, part of me hoped that maybe, just maybe, we could reconnect. Not as a rebound or anything like that, but as friends who might become something more someday. If you wanted that too. Marcus looked at Sarah. She looked nervous, vulnerable. She was taking a risk by being honest, by admitting her feelings. That kind of honesty was exactly what Marcus needed. I'm not ready for a relationship, Marcus said honestly. I need time to heal. Time to learn to trust again. I know, Sarah said. I'm not asking for a relationship right now. I'm just asking for a chance for us to stay in touch, to be friends again, and maybe, when you're ready, we could see if there's something more. No pressure, no timeline, just possibility. Marcus thought about it. The safe thing would be to say no, to keep his walls up, to protect himself from any chance of being hurt again. But he was tired of being safe and alone. He was tired of letting fear control his life. I'd like that, Marcus said. I'd like to be friends again. And see where it goes, Sarah smiled. It was the same warm, genuine smile that had made Marcus fall for her 15 years ago. Good, she said simply. Sarah left New York the next morning, but they stayed in touch. They texted every day. Video called a few times a week? Marcus told her about his work. Sarah told him about her students and her dog. Sometimes they talked about serious things. Sometimes they just laughed about stupid videos they found online. Slowly, over the next few months, Marcus started to heal. He still had hard days when he thought about Victoria's betrayal. But those days became less frequent. He started seeing his friends again. He went back to the gym. He smiled more at work. His employees noticed the change. The cold, distant Marcus was slowly being replaced by the kind, warm person he used to be. 6 months after Victoria left, Marcus visited Sarah in Vermont for a weekend. Her little house was cozy and filled with books. Scout, her dog, immediately loved Marcus. They went hiking in the mountains. They cooked dinner together. They stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. On Sunday evening, as Marcus was getting ready to drive back to New York, Sarah walked him to his car. Thank you for coming, she said. This weekend was perfect. It was, Marcus agreed. Then, without overthinking it, he leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle and sweet. When he pulled back, Sarah was smiling. Was that okay? Marcus asked. More than okay, Sarah said. It was real. And real is exactly what you need. Marcus drove back to New York with a light heart. For the first time since the betrayal, he felt genuinely happy. Not the fake happiness he had with Victoria. Real happiness. The kind that comes from genuine connection with someone who truly knows and cares about you. Marcus learned an important lesson through all of this. Betrayal is painful and devastating. It can make you suspicious and afraid, but it doesn't have to destroy you. If you let yourself heal, if you open up to the right people, if you remember that not everyone is a liar, you can find something real again, something better than what you lost. Marcus and Sarah took things slowly. They dated long distance for a year before Sarah accepted a teaching position in New York. 2 years after that, Marcus proposed to her in the same spot where they sat on that park bench. She said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was small and simple. Just close friends and family at a quiet garden venue. No media, no photographers. Just people who genuinely loved and supported them. As Marcus watched Sarah walk down the aisle toward him, he felt grateful for everything that happened. Even the betrayal, because it taught him to value honesty, to recognize genuine love when he found it, and to never take real connection for granted. Sometimes the worst experiences in life lead us to the best ones. Sometimes we have to lose something fake to find something real. And sometimes the person meant for us was there all along, waiting for us to be ready to see them clearly. Marcus was ready now, and as he held Sarah's hand and promised to love her forever, he meant every word. Because this time everything was real.